Welcome to the Coach's Corner, part of the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. I'm your host, Davina Lyons, also known as Mama Lyons, and this is where real conversations meet real growth. Here we explore what it means to rise through reflection, resilience, and purpose. One story, one insight, one breakthrough at a time. Whether you're a coach, a leader, or simply on your own personal development journey, this is your space to reflect, identify, stand, and emerge stronger than before. So grab your notebook, take a deep breath, and let's rise together right here in the Coach's Corner.
And change makers who are helping us to grow with purpose and confidence. Today, I'm excited to welcome Laura Browne, a trainer, speaker, coach, and accomplished author. Laura brings years of experience as a former senior director of human resources for a global tech company, and now she's the author of Career or the founder of Career Coffee Break. I hear myself twice, so there must be some technical difficulty, and I'm not sure why. Okay. All right. So I have it playing twice somehow. All right. Well, we are live. So I guess we're going to just have to roll with it. I'm not sure if you hear it twice, but I certainly do. I do. All right. I'll continue. Hopefully, you don't hear it twice. Maybe it's just my sound. Laura's the author of several business books, including Interview Speak, What Your Interviewer Really Wants to Know, and she's been featured in major publications like Forbes and Cosmopolitan. She's also a talented fiction writer, so storytelling is very much part of how she leads and teaches. Today, we'll be talking about career resilience, navigating unexpected job loss, advocating for yourself at work, and asking one powerful question. What can you do today that your future self will thank you for? Laura, welcome to the Coach's Corner. I am so glad you're here.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Davina. I am super glad to be here today. Thank you so much. Oh, you're muted.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on, but I have a lag. Can you hear me, Laura?
I hear you just fine. You sound great.
Awesome. So, did you hear it twice by any chance?
No. So I was going to tell you, you sounded just fine. So it must be on your side. So I don't hear it, and I'm hoping nobody else there is hearing it twice.
I think what's going on is it's playing twice somewhere.
In another dimension, maybe.
Okay.
Now, there's a story there, I'm sure.
I had it going. I had it going twice. I had it playing, and I, I know exactly what I did. And anybody watching, please understand, this is not for the faint of heart. I remember
It's
earlier
not
I
easy.
had two screens going. I actually never turned off the other one. So I was playing live in the background and only I could
Okay.
hear it. So
That makes sense. Don't worry about
yeah,
it. We're here now.
yeah. So one thing I've learned about myself is that When you choose the word resilience as your go-to word, you will live that out every single day.
Well, I love it also because a lot of people,
So,
it's the beginning of the year, people say, oh, I have a word for the year. But I know your word just overall is resilience, which I think is wonderful.
yes. Yeah, because and I'm constantly having to walk that out. So,
Mhm.
and this is an example. I actually, they say never let them see you sweat. Not me. I just, hey, I'm hearing myself twice. What's going on? So,
So they can be here with us during this.
it's
That's really
okay.
fun.
It's all
Mhm.
right. Yeah. So anyone who's real smooth would have just realized, okay, you've got it playing twice. So maybe you want to turn off one of your screens. But nonetheless, I apologize, Laura, for starting us out on such a rocky road, but
Are
I am
you
so
kidding?
happy you're here.
This is a
Yeah,
bounce back. So you learn and you bounce, which is, something that's very important to me, that I think that we're always learning throughout our lives and our business careers.
absolutely. And I know you're going to touch on that a bit because,
Mhm.
you've had quite an impressive journey. And I'm so excited to share that. We were just talking a few moments backstage, you and I, before I realized I had multiple screens going, that we've known each other for several years. And I
Several.
think we
Yeah, that's
figured it out about 20, right?
about 20. Yeah, yeah.
And I want to take this opportunity live to thank you for always being supportive of me because
Oh.
way back in my corporate days, American Express, you saw something in me. You invited me when you were a part of Women Unlimited
Mhm.
as a local leader and presenter. And I think there's probably, I can't even count the number of women that are out there that you played a part in helping their career.
Yeah.
So really, when you think about the number of years that you did that, that you
Mhm.
facilitated all those amazing workshops for corporate women, um, and I was so excited when you allowed me to assist you and be a part
Yes.
of that.
Oh,
And that was, gosh, how many years ago?
that was I don't know.
So,
That was a couple of years ago too. But I was so excited too, and I loved working with you, and that's why I'm super excited to be here today. And it's so interesting when you say that because again, both of us, when we were working at Women Unlimited, touched all these women's lives, and we don't know. And it's so funny because I'll hear later on, and I'm sure you do too. Like somebody will reconnect with me and say, I get reconnected on LinkedIn and say, "Oh my gosh, the stuff that you told me has made such a difference." And it makes such a difference for me knowing I have no idea, who I touched and who they touched, but I know that
oh,
we have made a difference in people's lives. And so that
oh, for
is
sure.
that
For
makes yeah.
sure. It was
Mhm.
very impactful. It was a very impactful program. But I know
Yeah.
I could talk to you for hours about so many things because, and we haven't touched base in a while. So there's so much that could be discussed. But I really want to get to Career Coffee Break, and I want to talk about, the amazing things that you are currently doing. And oh my gosh, the books that you've written, and there's so much. But let's start off with I want to talk about the realization of this is the direction that you wanted to go in, where you are now.
Mhm.
So tell us what you're doing
Mhm.
and what made you go in this direction.
Yeah. Well, first, before I tell you where I want to just jump back a little bit.
Sure.
So the audience doesn't know this. You show up in 2 of my books. So I've written 12 books right now, and you're in 2 of them. And so you mentioned my newest book, Interview Speak, what your interviewer really wants to know. And in it, I have 4 different characters, and we really talk about very practical things. And so because I wanted to make it easy. I named my characters A, B, C, and D. And I thought,
Yeah.
what's a D name? And actually I changed the names later on. But I said Davina, because I've always liked your name, Davina. And so there
Oh,
is a
thank you.
manager named Davina. I did check with Davina and to say, would it be okay if I borrowed your name for my book?
Yes, you did.
And then in another book, in one of my fiction books, A Single Cinderella Story, where the main character is learning about relationships and love. There is a character in there who helps her to understand how to be your authentic self. And that's based on things that Davina taught me. And at the end of the book, I mentioned Davina's name. So, so we've
Yes.
connected in a lot of different ways. So I just wanted to share that Davina's in 2 of my books.
I'm so
So now we're
honored.
going to get back to
Thank
the
you.
question. You're welcome. So it's interesting because when I think back, what really, really started me is something that it was bad. So I was at this very nice company. I had a nice boss and I wanted a raise. And so I did, this was quite a while ago. This was early in my career. And I did whatever research I could then. And I was sure I deserved a raise. And I went and asked him, and he immediately shot me down. I mean, there was not even a discussion. It was like, nope. And I went home and I was so embarrassed that I actually asked for a raise that I wanted to quit. Literally, I did not want to go to work the next day. And I called a friend of mine. And so she was talking to me and she's like, well, what reason did he give you? Why didn't he give you the raise? And I don't know. He just said, no, I didn't ask him. So she said, you know what you have to do? I'm like, oh. So anyway, so the next day I asked Phil, my boss, Phil, and I'm still in contact with him years and years later. Yeah. And I said, help me to understand why you said no to the raise. He said, oh, because it's not raise time. I'm like, what? He said, it's not raise time. He said, in a couple of months, it will be raise time and you'll get a raise then. Now, that was the first time I understood that my company, as well as many other companies, give raises at a certain time, once a year or twice a year. Typically, raises and promotions happen. And then, fortunately, I asked a question, which I'm so glad I asked. I'm not sure even why I asked. I said, well, help me to understand what I need to do to get the best raise possible at raise time. And so because he said, no, you're doing a great job, but what do I need to do? And so he coached me a little bit. And so I made a couple of changes, but I got a great raise. And I started telling my friends about this. And I started realizing, wow, I am not the only person that struggled with getting a raise. And then I started really looking into it and I started, helping other people. And I just remember so many stories from, let's say, Women Unlimited. I remember talking to this one woman. And she said, well, I can't get a raise at work. It doesn't work. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, I already asked my boss for a raise and it doesn't work. I said, well, tell me what you said. She said, well, I said to my boss, it would be nice to get a raise. And he laughed and he said, yeah, it sure would be. And so I pointed out in a very nice way, well, he didn't hear that as an ask. He just heard that as an offhanded comment. And so by having her take a look at that, she was a little surprised. She's like, well, no. And I sort of walked her through it and she's like, oh. And so I coached her, okay, so this is what you have to say and you actually have to ask. So in talking to people and helping them to see things a little bit differently, I helped them. And I realized I could help so many more people with my books and with training and things like that. So yeah, so that no that I got really started me on the journey to where I am today.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how purpose is born out of discomfort sometimes, or, a challenge. And so that's pretty cool. I love that. I love that you paid attention and you took that as an opportunity to help people. So very, very cool. And it sort of evolved over time, right? Right. Okay.
It did, because then I wrote it, I wrote a book, Increase Your Income, 7 Rules for Women Who Want to Make More Money at Work, with a friend of mine, Jill. And then we thought, you know what, not everybody likes to read business books. Let's make it a nonfiction, a fiction book. So then we wrote a Salary Cinderella Story, or How to Make Money Without a Fairy Godmother. And we have these 3 women that are dealing with issues with their relationships, as well as issues at work, and, how to ask for a raise and how to get a promotion. And so it was really, really fun, because we thought, hey, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, we can get this information out.
Absolutely. And I remember those books, and I read those books, and I remember how entertaining they are, but at the same time, the underlying message is super important. So I agree. Yeah. I mean, so I was featured in it in a way. So of course.
Well, yes.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I mean, I've always admired how you're able to, move from, and I know you had other corporate work experiences yourself, but that you were able to still find time to write and to produce these amazing books, and publish and all of that good stuff. Yeah. So very, very cool. So you tend to focus heavily on people getting promoted or making more money. What's the biggest mindset shift for something like that? What before that becomes possible, what do you think people have to do?
Well, okay. So if let's focus on the getting the money, the raise. And because people have all sorts of things about money, and I'm not going to get into all those, but really the big thing they need to shift their mindset is that you really need to ask. That yes, sometimes you get raises and things like that. Sometimes you get good raises, sometimes you get promotions, but it's better if you ask. And now there are people out there that are going to say to themselves, "But Laura, it's raise time, at my company twice a year, once a year. I don't have to ask." Well, not true. And here's the thing, that yes, you probably will get a 3% raise or whatever, or 2% raise. But if you want the most raise possible, you have to ask. And here's the other thing that people really need to shift on. That I've had people tell me, well, when my boss sat me down and gave me a 5% raise, then I, started to negotiate. Too late. Absolutely not. So if you actually want to get a raise this year, you need to start 3 to 4 months before that, before it's raise time. And let me tell you why. So again, I've been in human resources for years and years at different companies, and people don't realize that like 3 to 4 months before, what happens is there's a big pile of money, and then they separate the big pile and they give it to different divisions, and then they separate it to senior leaders and managers. And so your manager now has a pile of money, but they're told, okay, this year everybody gets 5% or whatever the percentage is. And then what they need to do is they need to break it up. And if they want more money, then they have to go through a process where they have to get approval from their manager, maybe human resources, maybe a compensation committee. Maybe they have to convince other leaders, on their same level that their person deserves more. So this takes months to go through. And so by the time your manager is sitting down with you, giving you the 2% raise or whatever it is that everybody else is getting, it's too late. They can't go back and change it. And so that's why you need to change your mindset to, well, they'll just give it to me in a couple of months, to I need to start 3 to 4 months ahead of time and ask that question that I asked, which is, what do I need to do to get the best raise possible? And then follow up with your manager, just like in a month or in a couple of weeks, just to make sure that they know that you're serious, because maybe there is something you need to change. And you don't want to find it out when your manager is sitting there giving you the raise. You want to find it out months in advance so you can change it. And for those people out there that don't have a company that has, raises twice a year or once a year, start now. So what you need to do is start talking to your boss now. And there are some other things you can do, but really the whole point is, don't wait for somebody to hand you the money. You need to start the discussion now so you can get the most money possible.
Absolutely. As you're talking, it makes me think about, I wonder if there are people who, speaking of mindset, who don't see their value.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have clients that you have to sort of get them to see their value? Because I almost feel like you wouldn't ask if you don't feel like you're worthy to ask.
Well, I'm going to turn that around. So that's part of it. But what I hear a lot is, well, yeah, if I deserved it, my boss would give it to me. I should not have to ask. But the fact is, people who ask are more likely to get it. So I'll tell you a story. It's not about money, but it's about something else. So there was this one woman I was working with, and she really wanted an assignment. They were doing a special assignment to Spain, I think. And so she hinted a little bit, but she didn't tell her boss, I want to be picked for the Spain assignment. Anyway, it was announced somebody else was picked, Bob was picked for the Spain assignment. And she said, why did you pick Bob? And basically said, well, Bob asked. And so what had happened was that, Bob, specifically said to his manager, there is an assignment in Spain and I want to go. And she said, well, you knew I wanted to go, didn't you? And he said, how would I know you wanted to go? You didn't tell me. She said, well, I told you I started taking Spanish classes. And he said, no, seriously. And he said, well, I didn't realize. So again, it's all about the fact that you need to think that you are valuable, and you need to say it, and you need to spell it out, and you need to ask for it. And I had another person, I told him, he was to tell his boss the good things he was doing. And he said, oh, that feels like I'm boasting, and I don't want to do that, and I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, look, your boss needs to know. And so I met with him the next week. He said, you won't believe what happened. I love when people say that. I don't know what happened. He said, well, I wrote down for my boss the things I was working on. And in the next big meeting, he actually announced to everybody that I and the team was working on this stuff because it also made the boss look good. And so he
Right.
realized not only was it okay to tell his boss what he was doing, it was important. And so I tell people that you need to like write a weekly thing or bi-weekly, just an update. Let your boss know what you're working on, what you've done, so that they can share it with others. First of all, so that they know, because your boss is busy, so they can share it with others who will have to approve your promotion or something else. And you have to show your value in there. And so you have to
Mhm.
write down stuff that maybe, well, it seems obvious to me. Okay, so here's the example. So instead of
Yeah.
just writing down, I scheduled the yearly conference. So okay, who cares? Schedule the yearly conference, but think, what value did I bring? So I
Right.
help people to see their value. So I scheduled the yearly conference 3 months in advance so
Mm.
that we could take advantage of lower hotel and flight costs, which could save us up to 50%. Okay, now your boss sees the value. So don't assume your boss sees your value, because your boss is busy and your boss might not make those connections. Make the connections for them. So again, they can show that to other people and they can see your value.
Oh, that's valuable. That's a valuable nugget right there. That is really
Thank
good.
you.
I
Hmm.
like that. So I do realize there's a lot of people that struggle with tooting their own horn, so to speak. I
Yeah.
mean, I've never been that person, but I do know there are people that are like that.
Mhm. Oh, there are
I
plenty of
couldn't
people like
imagine
that.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, we're all different because some people, depending on how they were raised and some people have been taught and also I know from a religious perspective that they may see it as being, too forward, braggadocious, whatever.
Right.
So we all have different ways of seeing things, but I think
Mhm.
your advice is pretty solid because first, not, no, I don't think it, I know it. Because, because as a leader, I've been a leader in corporate settings over the years myself, and I know that when your people shine, you shine brighter, even because
Mhm.
and it's very important to make sure that you give that information to your leader. So I think that's excellent. I know that you work with people on interviewing, which it does relate to
Mhm.
your current book.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the what happens in interviews and all that good stuff too.
Well, so let me sort of back up and give you a big picture about interviews. Um,
Okay.
that that interviewers are looking for three things, and a lot of times you don't think about this, and a lot of people miss one of them. So interviewers want to know, first of all, can you do the job? Now, obviously, that's why they're looking at your resume and they're going to ask you some questions. So most people focus on that. The second thing interviewers want to know is they want to know, do you want this job? Are you motivated to do this job? Sure, they know you want a job, but do you want this job? And this is what most people miss out on, because they assume,
Mhm.
well, they know I want this job because I'm interviewing. No, no, you have to convince them. You have to show them. And then the third one is, will you fit in with the team? And so a lot of times there are questions about, give me an
Mm.
example about how you worked with the team, with conflict, things like that. But the real thing I want people to remember is that you need to help them to see, you want this job. You're excited about this job. You're motivated to do this job. The other thing that most people don't think about is interviewers are scared. Okay. They are scared that if they move you forward and if they hire you and you do a bad job, it will look bad on them. So you need to
True.
really convince them, yeah, that you're a good fit and that you're going to be helpful and you're going to help the manager and you're going to help the team, because again, they're worried about their jobs. And so most of the time we don't think about that. We just think about us. And so if you can start thinking about what the concerns are of the interviewer, it can really make for better interviews.
That's good. That's very good. I know. As you were saying that, I'm thinking about over the years, I've done so many interviews, and I think that's always running in the back of my mind is that, I'm looking for where does this person and also trying to think about how this person would fit in with the team. Because as the interviewer, we know the team, the interviewee
Right.
does not, right?
Hmm.
And so there's so many different things. So how, without giving away too much, how does and you can tell me this is a by the book question, by the book, but you want an answer by the book. But I'm just thinking about, how does a person prepare themselves to really say, I want this job?
Well, and again, it's all about preparation. That's exactly it. And so here's what I've heard from some people. They say, I don't need to prepare. I want to be authentic and I'm going to wing it. Never do that. Okay. You're laughing because you need to be authentic and prepare. Because if you just wing it, then you know what happens. You get into the interview and afterwards you think, oh, I should have said this, or I wish I hadn't said that, or I didn't think of that story. No. So the big thing is you need to spend time preparing. And so you need to prepare good stories. So pick a couple of stories that you can use. And what we do in the book, I'll just tell you, is we have a bunch of typical questions that you're going to get asked. And so if you prepare for the typical questions, it will help you. Will you get all of them? No. But for example, one of the toughest questions is, tell me about yourself. And like 99% of the time, you'll get that in the beginning, right? How many times have we heard this? And I will tell you right now, early in my career, I really messed this one up. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, I just, oh, well, I like to knit, or I like to do, I don't know what I was saying. Okay, no, here's what you need to do. Also, don't just go on, because this is the beginning of the interview, okay? And so this sets the stage. So if you go on and on and on, and you spend 10 minutes talking about how you like to knit, I mean, you're done for, all right? No, so this answer should be 30 seconds to a minute, okay? Now, you might already have made a connection with a person, but if not, maybe make a connection. But then what you want to do is you want to pick 2 or 3 things that you're proud of that connect to the job. So I'm getting back to connect to the job. So talk about things. I'm really good at this. I really love this. And I noticed in the job, that is part of it. And that's why I'm excited about this job. So you can use that first question to help them to see some good things about you that connect to the job. So they can think, oh, this person really is interested in working here.
And it also tells me that you've done your homework. You've looked into the company. I definitely think that's important as well. It was something that, you remind me, when I interviewed way back with American Express, it was a panel interview. I was a temp. Yes, lovely panel. But the way they did it at the time, I was applying to be a team leader, and there were several on the team, if I'm not mistaken, 9 or 10 people. So I'm interviewing after working all day as a temp in another department. I go in a conference room, and there's a huge round table of all these people. And my job that I'm applying for is to be their team leader. And they all have questions. And of course, the director is at the table. And so the funny thing was about what you're talking about. The first person asked me to tell about myself. I talked for like probably 20 minutes. And all of them I saw them with their pencils crossing out their questions. I just talked about myself, like you said. So the funny thing is, though, and by the way, I did get the job. However, I got the job, but they did joke about the fact that I answered all of their questions with the first question, but they liked me. They liked my personality. I had been there working as a contractor in a department that was adjacent. They knew me. But I can tell you that if they didn't know me, that probably would have been really bad. But I think they walked in wanting me to be their leader because I had,
yeah.
So
that's a good point. So you bring up a couple of really good points. And again, because people get nervous, they ramble. And most of the time they won't interrupt you, at least not for a while. And the rambling is bad because, again, it shows, and they know you're nervous. So it's okay to be nervous. And I had people even say, listen, I'm a little nervous. That's fine, because then you're relatable. But you brought up something else really, really important. You're likable. They already knew you were likable because they had already worked with you. Now, most of the time they don't, but you need to still come across likable. You need to smile. You need to be pleasant. You need to tell good stories so that they think this person is a likable person and I will want to work with them and the team will be happy to work with them.
Right. Right. Now on the flip side, I had an interview. I don't even remember at what point in my career. It may have been after or before American Express. I don't remember, but I remember
Mhm.
having an interview, and it was with a college. And I thought it was just myself and the interviewer. I thought we hit it off. Like I thought, man, I left there feeling so good. Like
Mhm.
it was the coolest thing.
Mhm.
But I do remember I probably went too far in answering questions and a little bit personal and
Mhm.
started just like chatting with her. I didn't get the job and I couldn't believe it. Like I
Mhm.
really couldn't believe it,
Yeah,
because
it's
I
really
thought,
funny that you say that because okay, so the Interview Speak book is written with a good friend of mine, Barbara, and she talks about a time that she used to um, sit right near one of the interviewers, and this interviewer was super friendly, and so everybody would leave interviews with her thinking, oh, "I got the job," but she did that to relax them, and so then they would say all sorts of things, but Barbara would come out and say, "How was that one?" And it would be thumbs down, even though she was super pleasant. Now on the other hand, you never know. There are some interviewers that are told have a stoic face, and it looks like they won't smile at all because they were told to do that, or maybe that's the way
right,
they are. But you might have a great interview with them, so you just never know who you're going to be talking to. Again, that's why you have to prepare, and you have to give yourself a little grace,
right.
and do the best you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I have a couple of questions. I usually don't look at the chat, but I was looking. One question is, how can you tell when you're rambling?
Wait, okay, so first of all, it's how long it is taking. So most of the
Okay.
answers we suggest should be like a minute or two. Okay, that's it. And by the way, again, part of preparation is I say you should like record yourself and talk. And I've recorded myself and I've
Mm,
timed my answers and stuff. And if they're too long, then I realize, oh, I'm rambling. The other thing is when you answer something, you should get to the point. You should know what the point is. And I always say
oh,
it's okay to take a moment. So if somebody asks a question that you really haven't heard before, now if it is an unusual question, you might say, "Huh, I have not thought about that. Let me take a moment." Because you got to think, what's the main point? So if you can think of the main point first, rambling is going away from the main point. So you need to make sure my main point is the thing I want to say is this. And then here's what I would say. If you have caught yourself rambling, I would literally stop myself and go, I'm really sorry I'm going on and on. I'm a little nervous because I'm super excited about this job. And I just really want
yeah.
to, could we start with that question again or something like that? I mean,
Right.
see, because again, it shows you're human. That's better than going deeper and deeper and deeper and keep talking. Go ahead and just
Right.
stop and say
That's
you
good.
realize it. Mhm.
Good advice. So what you're saying is prepare, prepare, prepare. Be prepared. Understand. And I love the part about recording and
Oh,
listening
yeah.
to yourself. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then because then you can hear if you have that inclination to ramble, you will
Mhm.
catch it even in recording. So that's
Mhm.
good stuff. Another question is,
Mhm.
how can you read the room?
Well, and how can I say this? You may not be able to. So, like,
Uh-huh.
if you're in a panel interview with, I don't know, 15 people or whatever,
Right.
but what you really want to do is just make sure that you're looking around and trying to include everybody. So that's sort of reading the room. But recognize if somebody is, sitting with their hands clasped over here and somebody is sort of sitting that they're not looking, it
Uh-huh.
should not take away from you. You should just look at them and just say, do you have any questions? And
Body
read
language.
body language, but don't get upset about it because maybe the person is cold that's doing
Mhm.
this, and maybe
Mhm.
this person, has been up all night.
Mhm.
I mean, who knows? So
Mhm.
pay attention, but don't get distracted by it. That's really what I want to say.
That's good stuff. I love this, and I'm getting questions in the chat. This is never I love this. Here's
Yeah.
another good one. And actually, I was going to ask this question myself as
Okay.
well because I remember when I was at American Express, we used the STAR method. Is that something
Yes.
in your book? The
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
What we
good, good,
normally
good.
okay. Oh, what were you going to ask about it?
No, so that's what the comment is. My company uses the STAR method. Is that
Yeah.
addressed in your book?
Yeah. Yeah. So in the book, we actually we give a couple of different, so STAR is like situation, task, I can't remember right now, and response,
Action
action,
and
response. And then
yes,
we use the
or
SOAR
result.
method.
Okay, yeah.
Situation, I can't remember. Anyway, we use a couple of different methods. And the idea is that when you're trying to answer something, that it's easier to put it into like a 4-step process. Like, here's the situation, here's what I did, here was the problem, here's what I did, and here was the result. So if you do that, it can help you do it in a shorter pattern. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is some companies are well known to use STAR or SOAR or something else. So honestly, Google the company before and find out if they're known to do it. And if so, then you should use the STAR method or the SOAR method or something else. But for most companies, they don't have a particular way to do it. But again, it's simply a way to start off with, here's the situation, here's why it was a problem, here's what I did, here's the result. And as long as you have those things in, then you can say it in a shorter way that gets the message across. And it should always have the result or the response or the result.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So STAR, situation, task, action, result. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember SOAR also. At some place I worked, we also used SOAR. So yeah, and I even transfer those skills in general conversation. Like I've learned if someone asks me something to keep, because I am a natural born rambler. I am. I know that. I know that. For a long time, I wouldn't even do lives because of that. If I just got onto Facebook and did a live, God only knows what I would.
I'd still be on.
Just going. And I cringe when I look back at some of the lives I did back in the day. I'm like, wow. I actually did that.
But you did it. But you did it.
That's the thing I was proud about. But then at some point I woke up and realized I did it, but nobody's listening. So maybe or they're tuning out.
Maybe you did it and then you adjust, right? And you get a better result.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So another question, when putting in for a leadership role, should only say I? Should you only say I?
Thank you. You know what? So this is funny. So, and we have a section in the book, I versus we. And so so the point is, you need to use both of them. Because if you only say I, then the interviewer might think, okay, the person isn't a team player. If you only use we, then the person's going to think, what was your part in it? And so you can say both. So I did this so the team could do this. So make sure that you choose to use both of them, especially if it's a leadership job.
That's good. That is good. Good. I definitely want to read this book.
Yeah,
I'm not, it's funny because as a teacher now, I'm not in that corporate world anymore where it's so different in education, I think, when you're a teacher. But I also think that a lot of what you share is good, not just from the perspective of applying for a job, but in terms of good communication. I think you cover off on good communication skills in the stuff that you've written that I have read. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your fiction writing, and because I think it's pretty cool. So talk about what inspires you to do that as well, or how you started doing that.
Oh, okay. So I'll tell a story. So I was in a training class and there was another trainer there, and I don't remember exactly what we were training, some management training class. And she said, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And immediately my answer was, I would write a book, because I'd never written a book before. I would write a book. And so I was doing this training class with her for a couple of different weeks. And each time she would ask that question and I would say, I would write a book. And of course, her whole point of asking the question was then to say, well, you don't know if you would fail or not unless you do it. And you might succeed. So by the fourth time, I'm like, okay, I got the message. I should write a book. But I was really, and so I say this to anybody out there who is thinking about writing a book, but is stopping them. Don't wait until you're 95 and wishing that you wrote a book. Write a book, okay? Because it's scary. And I thought, but if I write a book and it's crap, then I will have lost my dream of being a writer. but if I write a book and it's good, then I'll be really happy. And so I ended up writing a book called Annie Clark and the Pearls of Wisdom. It's a middle grade fantasy, and it's about a little redheaded girl. I have a little redheaded daughter. She's not little anymore. Anyway, so it's a middle grade fantasy, and it was an Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award competition semifinalist. And a Publishers Weekly reviewer said it was reminiscent of Ella Enchanted and Harry Potter. And I loved writing this book. I actually just reread part of it recently. I mean, I just loved it. It was so much fun. And if I hadn't written that book, I would not have written any of my other books. And so I highly recommend, if anybody is interested, start writing. And by the way, I'll give a suggestion. One of my favorite writers is Anne Lamott, Lamott. And she wrote a book on writing called Bird by Bird. And there's a whole story that her brother had to write an essay, and he was, it was due the next morning. And he said, how can I do it? And his father said, just write it bird by bird. And so the thing about writing is just write page by page. Don't keep redoing chapter one. Just keep writing. And so that's what kept me going, because I started to rewrite chapter one over and over again. I thought, I am never going to finish this book. So I ended up finishing it, and it's really, really fun. So if you have a book out there in your heart, go ahead and start writing it. I hope you will.
Yeah, that's what I've been, I know we haven't connected in a while, but I've been working on, I wrote a manuscript planner for people who want to write their books.
Yes.
And so
but
I'm focused more on people who want to write to heal, from their trauma. So writing to rise is really about reflecting on your own life, and not necessarily trauma, but experiences that you want to be able to help someone else grow from. So I agree. And I do remember your first book. I remember when I got it and read it, and I'd forgotten that one, but that was your very first book.
It was my very first book. Thank you.
Award-winning, right?
Yeah, it was. And I'm just super excited that I wrote it. And then I started writing nonfiction books. And then, of course, then I did the Salary Cinderella story, and then it's the fiction, and then the single Cinderella story. So I actually like writing both. And some people prefer fiction versus nonfiction. But it just depends. And actually, I'm working on a cozy mystery right now. So I like
mystery.
Nice. I will be mysterious about it. But the whole point is that sometimes I like writing fiction, and sometimes I like writing nonfiction. It just depends on what's going on.
Yeah. Now, where do we find your books? Are they all Amazon, or?
They're all on Amazon right now. But if you want, I will just tell you, if you want to get my newest book, Interview Speak, What Your Interviewer Really Wants to Know, go to my website, careercoffeebreak.com, because on it will say how you can get 40% off at the publisher. So you can get it at Amazon, but you can get it cheaper at the publisher's website. And I started Career Coffee Break a couple of years ago to have quick bits of practical information to sip with your coffee. Just the idea that we don't have time for a whole big long training, but here's some quick bits of information.
Love that. And can you share? I know you have LinkedIn, you have a newsletter, you have stuff, people can really tap into you and follow you. So definitely want to do that. And at the end, I know there's an offer for listeners as well.
There is an offer. So if they connect with me on LinkedIn, and actually also if they say, I saw you on Davina's show, I would love to connect with you. And then on LinkedIn, I do have a newsletter that I do just about every week. It's got different things. Last week, it was about how to get a raise. And then the week before, actually in December, because I took 2 weeks off, then it was about interviewing things. And I took some things from the book. So I always give tips on something to do with work or personal development. So I would love to connect with people.
Yeah, you're that person that someone needs to follow, because you drop some great nuggets all the time. And I catch it on LinkedIn. I definitely follow your newsletter and have for some time. But it's just one little tweak that can make a huge difference for someone. The difference between getting a job or getting a raise, right? So I really, I just, and it's those things. When you talk about professional development, it's like the little snippets, the little pieces of advice to where you can tweak what you're doing definitely can make a difference, but we have to feed ourselves. We have to take that career coffee break, right? We have to sit and take a moment
Yes.
to do
Mhm.
that. So I love that. I'm going to share. I don't want to forget. Actually, I'm going to put it up right now because
Okay.
I don't want to forget. But I definitely want to share the fact that you have an offer for those who are listening right
Right. So
now.
let me tell them. So I've
And
got 2 classes that I highly recommend. There's one class, and it's about how to get a raise at work, and it's like I think it's 8 different videos, and you can do it at your own pace. And then I have another class, how to get a higher starting salary at a new job. So it's how to negotiate a higher starting salary, because when you are getting the job offer, that is the time that you have the most leverage. And so if you want to take either or both of those classes, you get 25% off the online classes using discount code podcast at careercoffeebreak.com by the end of the month. So I would love it for people to take that, because I'm just giving them little snippets now, but the real meat is in those 2 classes.
absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, I'm very excited about the fact that you are doing everything that you're doing, especially now, because this is a time I think where people are very up in arms and a little nervous about. I mean, there's layoffs. There's been a lot of job loss
Yeah.
nationwide, and so I'm
Mhm.
sure that increases competitiveness in
Oh,
interviewing.
terrible. Yeah. If you can get into, and by the way, I have another, so if you go to my website, you'll see all my books. There's another book I haven't even mentioned yet called Help, My Company Swiped Left. And it's about
Oh
what
my
to do when
God.
you lose your job. And myself and my co-author, Jill, talked about our job losses, because we both lost a couple of different jobs. And that the main idea, if you are stuck in a layoff, is be kind to yourself, because now, I mean, more people, I hate to say it, are getting laid off. It seems like it's in the news every place, but it's really painful and it's hard and it's embarrassing. And how do you get out there and look for a job again? But the fact that so many other people have been impacted recently in the last couple of years, people are actually kinder about it. Oh yeah, you were in a layoff, I was in a layoff. And so it's a little easier. It's a little easier to talk about it in an interview, but it's important to, again, be kind to yourself, recognize it's okay to be really, really upset and to go through the 5 stages of grief,
Right.
because it is grieving. I mean, when I lost my job twice, I was grieving, and it was really, really hard. And I just, for people out there that are looking for jobs, it's a tough, tough time right now. And so that's why I want people to have as much preparation, have as much information as possible. By the way, I forgot to mention, because we're in Phoenix, if you're in Scottsdale, I'm going to be at the Scottsdale Book Festival on January 24th,
Yes.
which I'm super excited with. More than 100 other authors. It's going to be a lot of fun, and my co-author of Interview Speak is going to be there with me, and I'm going to have some of my other books there too.
Yeah, and I think you posted that on LinkedIn, right? I think I
Yep,
saw
I did
that.
post it
So
on
if
LinkedIn.
you, yeah, connect with Laura on LinkedIn as well. Those of you
Yeah.
who are on there, because I'm sure if they don't make that, there'll be other things in the future where they can connect with you. So
Oh yeah,
that's
there'll
really
be other
good.
things.
So that's awesome. There'll be 100 authors, all
More
different
than 100.
genres. More than
All
100.
different genres. I think it's 140. I can't remember right now. Yeah, all
Wow.
different. Yeah. I can't wait. I just love books. So it's going to
Yeah,
be really
me
fun.
too. Me too. Yeah, I want to see if I can check that out. That is very, very good. Yeah, so a person commented, the struggle is real. It really is. It really is.
It is. And no, it's so, I mean, I've been coaching people and, working with people for years and years and years. I got to tell you, I have never seen a job market like this. This is the absolute worst. And I thought 2009 was bad, and it was. 2009
Mm-hmm,
was, I think that's what was bad. This
mm-hmm,
seems just so much worse. And
mm-hmm.
again, people are getting laid off, and it has nothing to do with them. It was a numbers
Right,
game. It was their department got sold to, some other company, or got taken over, or got outsourced, or
right.
whatever. But just people are really feeling it, and it's taking months and months and months for people to even get an interview, and months to get another job. It's
It
really
is
rough.
harder, isn't it? It is
Yeah. Oh,
harder.
it is much harder. Yeah.
And I know you have a lot of HR experience, but how many on average do you think for most jobs resumes are submitted? I mean,
Oh, I don't know, but It's a lot. And then part of the problem is the applicant tracking systems.
Yes.
Or, so if you're not familiar with applicant tracking systems, people don't look at your resume typically. I mean, if you're in a big company, it's a tracking system. It's looking for words and it spits out resumes that don't match. And so no person might ever see your resume until you get past. And that's why, again, it's important to prepare and look at your resume. And there's lots of good stuff online as to how to put keywords in your resume that match with the job so somebody will actually see you. But here's my other tip. Besides that, network. So I remember a number of my jobs I got because I contacted somebody who knew somebody else who connected me, and I got around the applicant tracking system. And I know if you have just been laid off, the last thing you want to do is network, but that's what you need to do. And my suggestion, actually, it's January. For everybody out there, you should start networking. Just start checking in with people, 5 people a week. How are you doing? What's going on? Haven't talked to you lately. So that if and when you are looking for another job, you're not just surprising people, you've stayed in contact with them. So I think networking is super important right now. And I would highly recommend it.
Yeah. Do you think, and I'm way off track here, but I'm just, I'm having a conversation with my friend.
Yep.
Do you think that after post-COVID, where people were so much more used to being virtual, has that impacted the job market as well with being, or even with people not getting out and networking the way they used to?
Oh, yeah.
I think everything's online.
And I think, before COVID, I was in networking groups and we would go out and meet. And obviously during COVID, we didn't, and we stopped meeting. And we did like some virtual coffees and stuff like that. But it's not the same to go on a virtual coffee. So now the good part is you can do that from wherever you are. And so I still think that doing some virtual networking is great. And I can have a virtual coffee, with somebody anyplace. But really the going to a meeting and meeting people that you don't know, there's no replacement for it. And it really did shut down. And I know that more people are doing it and there are some really good organizations, but we need to actually get out there and do it. And so you mentioned something in the beginning that a question I ask myself every day is, what can I do today that my future self will thank me for? And so I ask that every day because that's what stops me from just sitting and eating popcorn and scrolling through my phone, which is what I just feel like doing. So it might be, okay, I need to go to a networking event. I need to find a network. I need to ask somebody what network they're in. So when you're thinking about in 6 months, what will I be happy that I've done? It could be going out and networking.
That's a good one. Right. I love that question because the answer can be so many different things, but it's all forward thinking. It's all positive because otherwise you wouldn't be thanking yourself in the future, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to thank myself for just eating popcorn or chocolate or whatever. No, I'm going to thank myself for starting the book, or I'm going to thank myself for reading the book or for connecting with a friend. Yeah. All things that take action. That's what I'm going to be thanking myself for.
That's great. That's great. And that question, if you think back on you asking that question of yourself, what are the milestones? Is it the writing the books? What's the coolest milestones from that question?
It's probably been writing the books and starting the books and keeping going. So that's probably been And so I'll tell you a story about interview speak. So I've known Barbara for years and years and years, probably as long as I've known you. And so she's really good. She's been an interviewer and she's coached a lot of people. And so a couple of years ago, I said, Barbara, there's a book in there. And she said, nope. Literally, nope. And so I kept bugging around, Barbara, we could write a book together on this. And she's like, nope. And I kept just every now and then saying it. And after about a year, I kid you not, she finally said, you mentioned a book thing. I might be interested in doing that. And so we ended up, we started working on it. And the funny part is I said, okay, well, write, the stuff that you want to write. And so she gave it to me. She said, I'm done. And I laughed, and she will laugh at this. She still laughs at this now. I said, what you just wrote is a pamphlet. That's not a book. Okay. We're now going to take the pamphlet and we're going to turn it into a book. And so we made it a lot bigger, and then we made characters again. So because people like to see characters, like we have these 4 characters answer questions, and we actually go through and say what was good about the answer and what was bad about the answer and how could it be better. But it all started with me saying, you know, Barbara, I think there's a book there. And I didn't take no for an answer when she said no to me.
Right. Yeah. And I think you're a natural storyteller. I think that's part of your style. And even in facilitation, right? Workshop facilitation, the stories are very important. I think people respond better because they can see themselves in the scene, so to speak. I like it. I love when people tell stories because now I'm able to completely relate. So that's pretty cool. And I'm sure that has helped a lot with you progressing.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you think about it, people don't remember numbers. People remember how you made them feel with the story. So it's not enough just to tell a story. It's got to be a story that has meaning. It has to be a story that has feeling. It has to be a story that connects with people.
Relatable.
That they can relate to. And that's what they'll remember.
Right. And I use that even in the classroom as a teacher. Middle schoolers love stories. And even when I'm telling stories of when, back in the day, and they can't relate to any character in the story, I have learned that I can no longer refer to things like I Love Lucy or any of that. The kids have no idea what I'm talking about, the Love Boat or any of that.
Yeah.
And so I have to work on making my stories relatable. And that herein lies the generational gaps, right? But it's incredible. Life does go on. And so we have to keep creating stories, right? And sharing experiences. But no, that's awesome. I love everything that you are sharing and doing. And I'm so excited because I know that we are going to see and hear more from you with the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, because I'm just a part of a bigger universe. And so people will see more of you. I love that you're an expert in an area where people really need that right now. It is so needed. I think that confidence and the, and people being resilient, the ability, of course, to bounce back, especially from job loss, especially from, having tough interviews, and to be confident to keep going. Because I think finding a job is a job itself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's hard. It's hard. And it's like everything you have within you, you have to exercise to keep going and to keep, because rejection can be a part of it.
Yeah.
And
ghosting. I mean, you don't hear anything. You think you have a great interview and it was wonderful, and then nothing. And then you send a little message. Just want to check in. Nothing. Yeah, it's just a really, really rough road out there. And
it is. You just made me think of something else I wanted to ask you, because I am noticing, and I don't know if it's if it's millennials or, I hate to do that because I'm a boomer. I'm at the end of the boomer thing, but there's so many after Gen Z, whatever. I'm not good at remembering what they are, but I do know that I joke all the time with a colleague who is a self-proclaimed millennial. And we always, she says she has no problems with quitting jobs, because if it's not, and I think about all of the people in her age group that I know, they will bounce around no problem. So, I guess, I don't know if your book addresses this or any of the things that you've written, but it is a different era. It's a different day, and people see jobs. I'm from the retirement, get the watch.
Yeah, it does not exist anymore.
It doesn't exist, does it?
No.
Like, becoming a teacher has helped me because I don't think like that any longer. I think in terms of, I'm here for the kids. They're always going to need me to be here for the kids until I'm ready to retire. Yeah. But in corporate, it's different. And I just wonder, are those people, they're all dead and gone, right? All those people that were waiting for the retirement watch, they're gone.
Well, they have retired, but the point, and we don't dive into like different generations. We just
Because
talk
that
about
doesn't
that.
matter. It's irrelevant.
No, but again, you could be interviewed by somebody of a very different generation from you, and so just recognizing, okay, I've been
Yeah.
interviewed by people that are a lot younger than me, and again, I don't make "I love Lucy" comments to them,
Right.
but what you really want to do, though, is think about what we do address is if you have bounced around a bunch, so if you've left a bunch of jobs, for some interviewers that can look bad. Because again, getting back to interview fear, the fear is you left this job after a year, you left this job after 7 months, you're going to do that here. And so it's important, again, part of preparation, to prepare a good story for why you left. And so we use a negative sandwich model. But you never say anything bad about the person or the company or anything like that. It's really all about the fact that you start off with positive, you fit some negative in there, and then positive, that it was a really good opportunity. It looked like there would not be any more growth available, so I decided to move on. So if you can spin it like that, and there's a good story for each one, it will be better. But then you need to get back to, but I'm looking now for something that I can really stay at. And I think this job is where I really want to stay, because truly most people do want to stay with a good job. And obviously everything you say has to be true. So if that is true for you, then you can just say, but I don't want to leave after a year. I want a place like this where I can stay and I can really build my career. So it's important to be ready to address it, because you know that interviewers are thinking about it. Yeah, you're going to bounce in 7 months. I'm not going to hire you.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you bring up a really good point. I was thinking about the interviewee, but the interviewer can be of a different generation and see things differently. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. There's so much good stuff. Anything else, Laura, that you must tell our listeners, because they're going to be listening for the next 100 years? Anything else?
Okay. The other one thing that I will say, again, because I talk to a lot of people about raises and salary negotiations, is if you don't ask, you won't get. This is so important. Don't hint, don't hope, like that story I told. You need to clearly ask, and you need to clearly work with your boss and get the raise that you want, because chances are nobody's just going to hand it to you.
And believe you deserve it, right? You have to believe
you deserve it. Yeah. You have to have the confidence
you're gonna
to
show
say,
it.
I should do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love, love, love this. Thank you so much, Laura. This has been great. It's a great reminder, I think, for people out there, and the timing couldn't be better for so many people that right now are in that space where they are looking for employment and or career change, transitioning. I know we didn't talk a lot about that, but there's room for you to come back. If there's anything else you want to share right now, certainly you can.
You know what? There is one other thing that I want to share. We didn't get into it, but I'm going to give you like just a key thing to not do. So when you're interviewing for a job and they say, what salary do you want? This is when a lot of people make a mistake. And when they ask that question, they're trying to decide if they want to waste time on you or not. Because if the number you give is too high, they're gonna not continue interviews, because they're not going to be able to afford you, so they don't want to waste time. If the number is too low, they're going to think, oh, they really can't do the job, even though they say they can do the job. Too low. So they're trying to decide, is this person worth spending time on? And so here is the key. Okay, this is the absolute most important thing you need to do. When they say, what salary are you looking for? Say, can you tell me what the salary range is? In a very nice way. And I will tell you, I have been so surprised how many times people will come back with a salary range. And then you just say, great, that's within my salary range. That's it. All you're trying to do is, because the negotiation is after they want you and after they give you the offer. Don't negotiate before that. Now, if they won't give you the salary range, then say, well, it depends on a lot of things, I'm sure. However, based on my research in similar jobs and similar industries, I am looking for X to Y, and make sure it's big enough, not 50 to 55, 50 to 75, and make sure you'll take the bottom one. So make it big enough, because all you're trying to do is get in their range so they keep moving you forward. But that is so key. And I go through that in the training, as well as a lot of things, how to negotiate at the end. But that is the key thing I want to leave you with today. If you're looking for a job, what to do the next time you get that salary question.
Okay, that's bigger than a nugget. That's like a bomb. Like, in all these years, I did not know that. I did not know that, but I do know that question made me nervous. And I know I would try ahead of time to prepare and kind of have an idea what their pay range was, but not always did I know. And man, I love that. That's really good. Oh, wow. Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
No, I'm glad you shared that. So this is why people must attend your workshops, and then, and they get a discount because if they saw you here, and also buy your books. Laura,
yes.
I adore you. Thank you so much. Hang on, don't leave. I want to talk to you for a little bit longer off stage, but this has been great. CareerCoffeeBreak.com. Please make sure you check out her website, listeners. Also, this is a great opportunity for you to think about whether or not you're ready to transition in your career, right? So this is good stuff. All right, I'm gonna sign off for everyone else, and we'll see you back here, I'm sure.
Thanks, Davina.
Right. Okay.
That was so fun. Thank you.
Hello. How you doing?
Hey, Big Jack. I'm Laura. Nice to see you.